qualify, I was the youngest lawyer, the youngest barrister to qualify at 21.
Cuando me gradué era la más joven de todas, de abogada, tenía 21 años.
And I was in the Inns of Court in central London.
Y ahí al final del curso en el centro de Londres.
And I at that time was winning a lot of advocacy competitions.
Y en esa época me estaba ganando una gran cantidad de competidores.
I was very favored.
Y fui bastante favorecida.
I was given some very big cases very early in my career.
Y muy temprano en mi carrera se me adjudicaron casos muy importantes.
So as the second or third lawyer, not the first, but I was on big cases.
Y en esa junta de abogados, pues no era la abogada principal, pero era la segunda, la tercera en grandes casos.
And so this was happening to me in my 20s.
Esto estaba ocurriéndome durante mis 20s.
But all the time, the 4-year-old girl, I still love Jesus the most.
Pero incluso todavía seguía siendo esa niña de 4 años que amaba a Jesús.
I was working with the Lawyers Christian Fellowship.
Estaba trabajando con una comunidad cristiana de abogados.
And I gave 15 hours a week to working with the next generation, with the young people coming through.
Y yo estaba donando 15 horas semanales para trabajar con las nuevas generaciones.
And we were focused on evangelism to the legal profession.
Y estábamos enfocándonos en evangelizar a aquellos profesionales de la ley, los abogados.
So we ran big evangelistic events in big hotels, and we had Chuck Colson come and speak to 500 lawyers.
Así que nosotros llevábamos a cabo importantes eventos evangelísticos en hoteles importantes y nos acompañaban alrededor de 500 abogados allí, dábamos conferencias.
We ran official events to start the legal year with 1,000 lawyers present.
Y llevamos a cabo el evento oficial de lanzamiento con la presencia de 1,000 abogados.
And everyone said, "Well done, Andrea, fantastic work."
Y todo el mundo me decía, qué buen trabajo, Andrea, trabajo fantástico.
But then I was seeing that the laws were moving against Christianity.
Pero luego me empecé a dar cuenta de cómo las leyes estaban yendo en contra del cristianismo.
And one of the Christian judges that was well known ordered an abortion on a Down syndrome child.
Y uno de los jueces cristianos muy reconocidos ordenó el aborto de un bebé que venía con síndrome de Down.
This judge was doing a lot of evangelism.
Este juez que era cristiano estaba haciendo mucho evangelismo.
I said to him, "How can you do this?"
Y yo le pregunté, ¿cómo puedes permitir esto?
He said, "My job as a Christian judge
Y él me dijo, mi trabajo como un juez cristiano
is to apply the law, not make the law."
es aplicar la ley, no hacer la ley.
I said, "But we are the lawyers, we are the watchmen. We understand what happens with the law."
Y yo le dije, pero nosotros somos los abogados cristianos, somos los atalayas, quienes entendemos lo que estas leyes promueven.
We are here to do right, to do justice.
Estamos aquí para hacer lo correcto, para hacer justicia.
So I began to run monthly seminars where I would examine with lawyers the law and Christianity.
Así que mensualmente comencé a llevar a cabo reuniones y conferencias en las que con otros abogados examinábamos las leyes actuales.
1,000 people did not come.
Y en ese momento no vinieron 1,000 abogados.
But this was when I began to come against the establishment.
Y aquí es donde me empecé a levantar en contra del Estado.
And even the Christian establishment.
Incluso de la estructura estatal, del Estado, ¿sabes? Sí, del Estado e incluso de las estructuras evangélicas también.
And I was used to being very popular.
Y yo solía ser bastante popular.
As a Christian lawyer,
Como abogada cristiana.
I knew lots of the judges.
Conocía a muchos de los jueces.
But when I began to stand for marriage,
Pero cuando empecé a levantarme en favor del matrimonio,
when in 1990, I told you about the experimentation of human embryos.
les conté cómo en 1990 se comenzó a experimentar con los embriones humanos.
When the teaching it was forbidden to teach homosexuality to children in schools. When that was reversed, I stood against it.
Cuando se revirtió la ley que prohibía enseñar acerca del homosexualismo en las escuelas, yo me paré entonces en contra de eso.
The Christian lawyers said to me,
Los abogados cristianos me dijeron,
"You're a lawyer, not a campaigner.
tú eres una abogada, tú no eres una activista.
Be a lawyer."
Sé abogada.
I said, "What are we here to do but to stand for the truth?"
Yo le dije, pero ¿qué estamos haciendo? ¿Para qué estamos aquí? Sino para pararnos a favor de la verdad.
They said, "We are here to pray. We are a prayer union."
Y ellos me dijeron, nosotros estamos aquí para orar, somos una comunidad de oración.
I said, "No, we are the lawyers who see and we must teach and speak."
Yo le dije, somos los abogados que podemos ver esto y debemos hablar y enseñar.
And then the Christian union in our universities, Christian unions in the
Y
university,
luego estos grupos cristianos, esas uniones cristianas en las universidades,
were removed from the campus.
fueron eliminadas, fueron sacadas del campus.
I said to the Lawyers Christian Fellowship,
Y yo les dije a los que hacían parte de esta comunidad de abogados cristianos,
"We must do this case."
debemos tomar este caso.
They said, "You can do the case, Andrea,
Y ellos me dijeron, tú puedes tomar el caso, Andrea,
but you cannot do it as the Lawyers Christian Fellowship.
pero no puedes hacerlo como representante de la comunidad de abogados cristianos,
We may risk our charitable status."
porque podemos poner en riesgo nuestro estatus de agencia de caridad.
So the Christian
Fundación.
Legal Center was born. So the Christian Legal Center was born.
Así que ahí fue donde nació el Centro Cristiano Legal, el Centro Legal Cristiano.
When the government was legalizing civil unions in 2003,
En el 2003, cuando el gobierno estaba legalizando las uniones
I said
civiles,
to the Lawyers Christian Fellowship, "We have to resist."
yo le dije a esta comunidad de abogados cristianos, debemos resistir esto.
They said, "This is political. You can do this, Andrea.
Y ellos me dijeron, esto es político, tú puedes hacerlo.
We are a prayer union."
Nosotros somos una comunidad de oración.
So Christian Concern was born.
Así que ahí nace Christian Concern.
So I didn't intend to create Christian Concern in the Christian Legal Center.
Así que mi intención al comienzo no fue crear Centro Cristiano Legal o Christian Concern.
I was happy being a popular lawyer,
Yo era feliz siendo una abogada popular,
but I wanted to stand.
pero yo quería pararme firme.
And it became painful. It really hurt to stand again with the Christians around me, and many of them were senior to me. And I thought, am I right? It was difficult. It wasn't easy. I was young.
Y fue bastante difícil realmente, ¿no? Librar esta batalla siendo bastante joven, rodeado de una cantidad de cristianos y líderes que eran mucho mayores que yo. Realmente fue doloroso. Y yo me preguntaba, ¿tengo la razón?
So I was in my 20s.
Estaba en mis 20s.
So, also, at the same time, I was having children. So at 30 I had Lily.
Y empecé también a tener hijos. A la edad de 30 tuve a Lili.
And I had 3 children.
3 hijos.
My husband said 2. I said 4. I should have had 10.
Mi esposo dijo 2, yo dije 4, debí haber tenido 10.
We agreed on 3.
Pero partimos diferencias, quedamos en 3.
All the time, I was going back to my chambers. I was going back to my chambers, to my office.
Y siempre
after 3.
que iba a mi oficina,
And the Lord gave me Nancy Rose, my 4th baby, my 4th.
y luego el Señor me dio a Nancy Rose, mi cuarta hija.
A miracle.
Fue un milagro.
My husband said, and I told my husband, and he said, "This is because the Lord wants you where you are."
Y mi esposo me dijo, esto porque es una bendición, porque Dios te quiere donde estás.
Because I was doing lots of work in Parliament, in the Christian cases. I was not doing the cases in the chambers.
Y es porque yo realmente estaba haciendo mi trabajo, estos casos, en el Parlamento, en los tribunales, no en mis oficinas.
So I'm saying to the women,
Y yo le estoy diciendo a las mujeres,
God gives you things to do. He always gives you things to do.
Dios siempre les va a dar cosas para hacer.
He defines your life. Life doesn't. This is it. Because I have 4 children. I am doing this work. I am doing this work because of 4 children.
Dios les va a dar estas cosas para hacer y yo estoy haciendo esta labor debido a que tengo 4 hijos.
If I had 3,
Si yo hubiera tenido
maybe
3,
I would be a judge. Maybe I would be.
tal vez sería otra cosa, sería un juez, una jueza.
So that's more of my testimony of how the Lord kept me in the work.
Así que eso es un poquito más acerca del testimonio de cómo el Señor me mantuvo en este trabajo.
And one of the people that came to the seminars that I did,
Y una de las personas que vino a uno de los seminarios que llevamos a cabo,
he was a lawyer, and he gave me space in his office for free.
él es un abogado también y me entregó una oficina gratuita en su espacio, en su edificio.
And so we started 3 people.
Y empezamos este ministerio con 3 personas.
And now we are 35 people.
Ya tenemos un staff de 35 personas.
And the whole thing is a miracle.
Y todo esto es un milagro.
9 lawyers, 1,000 cases per year.
9 abogados, alrededor de 1000 casos al año.
And we call Nancy Rose, we call her the public policy baby.
Y a Nancy Rose la llamamos la hija o la bebé de la política pública.
And she is fire. She is fire.
Ella es fuego.
So the point is, walk into your calling, do not fear. This is the point, always to walk into the calling.
Así que mi punto es, por favor, caminen hacia su llamado sin temor.
So I've been asked to speak more specifically about the Christian Legal Center.
Voy a hablar más específicamente acerca de los centros cristianos, centros legales cristianos.
And I say this: we take every single genuine Christian interest case that comes to us.
Y yo le digo, todos los casos que tomamos, que vienen a nosotros, son de creyentes verdaderamente genuinos.
We don't seek a perfect case.
No buscamos un caso perfecto.
We just defend the people that are in trouble because they love Jesus.
Solamente tratamos de defender a aquellos cristianos que están en problemas porque aman a Jesús.
So Isaiah says, defend those who get in trouble with the Lord due to their faith.
Isaías dice, defienden a aquellos que se meten en problemas con la ley debido a su fe.
So we defend every single one, but we also have an eye on the big picture. Where is the gospel under attack? So what about strategic litigation?
Así que nosotros tenemos que mirar el panorama completo. ¿Cuáles son aquellas áreas que están bajo ataque? Y por eso hablamos de litigación estratégica.
So where life is under attack, where marriage is under attack, what are the strategic litigation points?
Entonces, ¿cómo podemos llevar a cabo estas litigaciones estratégicas donde la vida y el matrimonio están bajo ataque?
And we also try to help other ministries be secure, to understand their position and to keep them future-proof. So we serve as lawyers to make sure that churches, parachurch ministries are safe.
Y también tratamos de ayudar a la iglesia y a ministerios paraeclesiales a estar a salvo, para que sus ministerios puedan durar en el tiempo en contra de todos estos ataques.
So we write letters for people, we help people establish themselves securely in public life.
Así que nosotros les escribimos cartas y les ayudamos a establecerse legalmente ante las autoridades.
So through our cases, we promote Christianity in the public space, we campaign, we use our cases in the wider campaigning strategy, and we raise issues in the media.
Así que nosotros, a través de estos casos, hacemos campañas y las promovemos a través de los medios de comunicación para que todo el mundo vea.
So on the issue of abortion, for instance, that's a life issue.
Por ejemplo, en el asunto del aborto, que es un asunto de la vida.
So we have brought cases where, for instance, doctors were caught on camera being willing to abort babies because they were girls.
Así que hemos, por ejemplo, atrapado o capturado en cámara algunos médicos que han estado dispuestos a abortar bebés sencillamente por el hecho de que eran chicas, niñas.
The doctors were not sanctioned. The Crown Prosecution Service would not punish. So we brought a private prosecution.
Así que el hospital no hace nada, las entidades de salud gubernamentales no hacen nada, así que nosotros somos los que vamos y proponemos el caso para denunciar a este médico.
The point about this case is that it put into the public space the fact that abortions were happening because babies were girls.
Y lo importante de este caso es que nosotros pusimos ante la vista pública, ante la mirada pública, de que estos doctores estaban practicando abortos sencillamente porque el bebé era mujer.
And a lot of people thought this is not right.
Y mucha gente dijo, esto no es correcto.
Of course, they did not understand that why is it not okay to abort baby girls, but not okay to abort baby girls. What about the baby boys?
Por supuesto, ellos no entendían a profundidad por qué no es correcto abortar niñas, pero no importa si se abortan los niños, ellos no entendían esto.
Okay, so our actual structure
Nuestra estructura
right now is that I am accountable now to a board. So I have a board who have been with me now for 20 years. You have to, first of all, when you have this I'm sure in all ministries, particularly in difficult times, you need the safest people. When you are in ministry, you need safe people with you.
Así que en este momento, como pueden ver, yo le rindo cuentas a una junta directiva que me ha acompañado durante 20 años. Y algo importante es que cada uno de ustedes al iniciar su ministerio necesitan rodearse de la gente más segura, más confiable.
I think sometimes organizations want to have lots of big names, important names.
Hay muchas organizaciones que lo que quieren es tener una gran cantidad de nombres importantes.
When the times get very difficult, you need safe names. You need the names of the people that will really stand.
Pero cuando vienen las dificultades, lo que vas a necesitar realmente son personas seguras, es decir, aquellos que se van a mantener firmes en medio de la persecución.
The Christian Legal Center acts like a legal advice center.
Los centros legales cristianos, este centro legal cristiano funciona como un centro de consejería legal, un centro de asesoría legal.
And then when we move into litigation, which is maybe 20% of the cases,
y cuando nos movemos hacia la litigación, lo cual es el 20% de los casos,
then we have to have a legal firm to do this.
Entonces necesitamos para llevar a cabo esto una firma legal.
So we work with two legal firms.
Así que trabajamos con dos firmas legales.
And there is like an invisible line between the advice center and the legal firm.
Y existe como una especie de línea invisible entre el centro de asesoría legal y la firma legal.
You will have similar rules I am sure, here in Colombia when cases become litigation versus when you can just advise. So, as lawyers, you can advise people. You don't need to charge money. We charge not 1 penny for anything we do. Our advice is free.
Así que tal vez ustedes tienen reglas y leyes similares acá, en las que ustedes, como abogados, pueden asesorar a las personas en sus casos antes de ir a la litigación. Pueden hacerlo gratuitamente como nosotros, no cobramos ni un centavo por ninguna asesoría.
But the lawyers that we have, the lawyers we employ, they are all paid lawyers' rates, not the highest lawyers' rates, but good rates.
Pero aquellos abogados que trabajan con nosotros los empleamos con una paga justa, con un salario justo como abogado. No los más altos, por supuesto, pero sí salarios justos.
Because these lawyers have to work very hard against the best lawyers in the country.
Porque estos abogados nuestros tienen que pelear bastante duro contra los mejores abogados del país.
And we are very busy all the time.
Y siempre estamos bastante ocupados.
So this is a serious investment.
Así que esto es una inversión seria.
But please remember, once upon a time there was one lawyer.
Pero recuerden por favor que érase una vez había una sola abogada.
And then there were 2 lawyers.
Y luego 2 abogados.
And then 3.
Luego 3.
And then a support system.
Y luego se desarrolló el sistema de apoyo.
And now there are 9.
Y ahora somos 9.
And I am not usually I am in the court, but I'm not usually the advocate.
Y yo estoy en la corte, pero usualmente no soy la vocera, no soy la abogada.
Because now I speak to the television, I speak to the media.
Porque ahora mi trabajo es hablarle a la televisión, a los medios.
Or I help the client to speak to the media, to tell the story, so that goes out.
O ayudarle al cliente para saber cómo referirse, cómo hablar en los medios de comunicación.
But I also have a media team.
Pero también tenemos un equipo que se encarga de los medios.
So even now, this week, whilst I'm here, my media team is preparing to tell the story of a politician who stood for the mayor of London.
De hecho, en este momento mi equipo de medios está trabajando en un caso, para promover un caso de un político en Londres
Who stood for marriage, saying marriage is between one man and one woman,
que se paró firme a favor del matrimonio entre un hombre y una mujer,
and was removed from her job for saying that.
y por decir eso fue despedido de su trabajo.
So the cases come in, we triage the cases,
Así que al venir los casos, le hacemos el triaje a los casos,
and then we take it through. Very often the cases can take 3 or 4 or 5 years.
y si vemos, entonces tomamos los casos y a menudo duran entre 3 y 5 años.
So, a good case. Well, there is no perfect case. There is not a perfect case.
No hay un caso perfecto.
Real people in real situations.
Son personas reales en situaciones reales.
And in the climate, you must expect to lose cases.
Y debes tener la expectativa también de perder algunos casos.
But it's really important to keep on appealing the cases through the system.
Pero es muy importante continuar apelando estos casos por medio del sistema
To never give up.
y nunca rendirse.
But what this also requires, therefore, is pastoral support for the clients.
Por lo tanto, lo que esto también va a demandar es apoyo pastoral para el
People
cliente.
cannot do this on their own.
Porque la gente no puede hacerlo sola.
So we are not just the lawyers, we have to be pastoral as well.
Así que no solamente son los abogados, también tenemos que hacer un trabajo pastoral.
And you work, you become like a big family.
Y en la medida en que se trabaja, nos convertimos en una gran familia.
And Christian Concern has about 80,000 followers.
Cristian Concern tiene alrededor de 80,000 seguidores.
And so we have to keep on telling the stories, keep on educating people.
Y debemos continuar contando las historias y educando a la gente.
So our areas of law are employment, human rights,
Estas son las áreas del derecho, el empleo, los derechos humanos, la educación.
some recent cases and examples. I told you this morning of the fact that we have been people have been told to take off the cross in work because it's an offence.
Yo les conté acerca de un caso en el que alguien tuvo que quitarse la cruz de su cuello porque era una ofensa para los demás.
The government has argued at European court level that the cross is not a Christian symbol.
El gobierno ha argumentado en Europa de que la cruz no es un símbolo cristiano.
But this lady, it took 5 years.
Pero a esta mujer le tomó 5 años
And the court said that the cross was a Christian symbol.
para que la corte finalmente sentenciara de que la cruz era un símbolo cristiano.
But for this, we prepared very well. Now, because 20 years ago, they could not take judicial notice that the cross was a Christian symbol.
Pero hace 20 años, es muy importante, hace 20 años, la corte no tomaba una notificación, no recibía esta notificación de que la cruz realmente era un símbolo cristiano.
So we brought theological evidence to show that it was a Christian symbol.
Por lo tanto, tuvimos que traer evidencia teológica de que en efecto la cruz era un símbolo cristiano.
I told you the story of Dermot this morning.
Les conté la historia de David Mackworth esta mañana.
David Mackworth, who was the doctor who wouldn't use the pronouns.
Este es el doctor que no quiso usar los pronombres.
But let me now give you, if we can play this case please, the case of Keith Waters. Carmen? The case of Keith Waters.
Vamos a poner el caso de Keith Waters.
It's not actually with me. It's not actually with me. It's a win for the Lord. It's His win, and I pray that it will be used by Him to enable others who are in this situation, but actually, more importantly, to enable policies to be changed in organisations, in employers, HR departments, to start thinking, look, we need to be thinking about this. We need policies which actually are focused on our business, not focused on our philosophies. When it came to me sending the tweet that I sent, it was nothing particularly out of the ordinary. It's the kind of thing I've been doing for a long time. What I hadn't worked out, I think, was quite how far many employers had been captured by other people's political ideas, thoughts, and philosophies. In my case, it was a case very clearly of the tweet that I put out, which was quite simple, and it was reminding Christians that it wasn't going to reach out to people at Pride events. It wasn't a good place for Christians to be, and particularly it wouldn't be a good place to take children along to, for obvious reasons, really, of nudity and safeguarding issues. So instead of taking note of what I had said and to whom I had addressed it, my employer picked up on an awful lot of backlash from local organisers of Pride event, local councillors who had vested interests, and they were taking a lot of their feelings, their thoughts and their direction from what was going on outside, not the facts. It really hit the mark, because the judge told us that it was wrong for the employer to start policing anything that anybody did outside, particularly if it involved their faith and their beliefs, and as a protected characteristic. That's quite important. We had argued that my protected characteristic wasn't being taken heed of, that it was only the protected characteristic of others who may have been offended, who were actually outside of the workplace anyway, that were being addressed. And so the judge made it clear that it needed to be proportionate, it needed to be related to what was actually said, and how it was said and where it was said. It was said outside of the workplace, it was said to Christians. It wasn't said in a way which was out to offend. Offence was taken, as offence can be taken, but it was actually something which should be allowed to be said in society. Whether people agree with it or not, we have the right to preach the gospel, we have the right to teach the gospel, we have the right to share Christ's love, and that's so important.
So the point is, we won this case.
El punto es que ganamos este caso.
But we've taken many cases. We could have lost that case. I didn't know we were going to win the case or we were going to lose the case.
Así como hemos tomado muchos casos, hubiésemos podido perder este. Hemos ganado muchos, hemos perdido otros.
But the point is, we just keep on taking the cases.
El punto es que debemos seguir tomando los casos.
And as a result, we are watching, and we're always there. Every day we are there in the newspapers, every day.
Y el resultado de estar tomando los casos es que todos los días estamos ahí, aparecemos en los medios, en los periódicos, estamos allí.
And then we get invited to comment on these things. And just as a result of being there, I believe that people understand there is a need for Christian freedom, for religious freedom.
Y al ser invitados a hablar en entrevistas, la gente empieza a darse cuenta de que hay una necesidad, de que haya libertad cristiana, libertad de expresión.
Now, the very first case on transgenderism in England was our case in 2015 of Nigel and Sally Rowe. Now, 7 we are winning other cases. But when we first took this case, we were hated and they were hated.
Cuando nosotros tomamos este caso,
Play this one now.
primera vez fuimos odiados por este caso acerca del transgenerismo, pero ahora estamos ganando todos los casos, vamos a ver.
And now we are beginning to win transgender cases.
Y ahora estamos empezando a ganar estos casos transgénero.
Nigel and yeah. Just ordinary people.
Son gente ordinaria, gente común.
All of these people are ordinary people who love Jesus.
Personas comunes y corrientes que aman a Jesús.
Well, we've been in the High Court today for the judicial review, and we're very encouraged that the judge saw in our favour on the issue of transgender ideology in schools. And this is a really important landmark, I believe, because I believe there are many parents throughout the UK with children's schools that are concerned about the trans issue being pushed on young primary school children. Of course, we were involved in a situation where our children were in a school where this was happening, and of course we were concerned, and therefore we raised the issue. In consequences of raising that issue where people get very upset, but I believe as a civilized society we are called to protect children, and we had to raise this issue. And so we're very, very encouraged. Now this will be brought to the courts and it will be challenged at government level too. There's a question, what is education? So that, in schools, they learn maths, science, English, things like that, but where do things like philosophy come in when it comes to trans ideology or LGBT issues, things like that? Where does that sort of stand in regards to education? So is that education or non-education? Should our children be educated in that? Where are parents' rights and what their children are taught in schools? Especially for us as we're talking about the Church of England schools.
Yeah, we're delighted for this victory and we're grateful to Christian Concern for their ongoing amazing support, and I am also very grateful for my amazing husband. And we just so believe that progress has been made from this.
Yes, there's been sacrifices, hasn't there?
Yeah.
In one's life when one puts their head above the parapet to challenge these things, but one is convicted in life to stand on what we believe to be right and true.
So, this I thought it was a different video of them actually, but this is their thank you video.
Este es el video de agradecimiento, debe haber mostrado el otro video del caso.
But their church did not understand why they stood.
De hecho, su propia iglesia ni siquiera entendía por qué ellos empezaron a pelear esto.
Children in the school were going dressed, little boys were going to dress to school as little girls, age 6.
A la edad de 6 años, niños estaban yendo a la escuela vestidos de mujeres.
Their son woke up saying, "Mummy, I don't want to become a girl."
Y su hijo se levantaba y le decía, papá, yo quiero ser una niña.
What the judge decided in this case was that education was about everything in the school.
Y lo que el juez decidió es que la educación se trataba de todo en la escuela.
And they also said that the government would need to look at its policy again on trans guidance.
Y que el gobierno debía revisar, dijo el juez, todas sus políticas relacionadas con la guía transgénero.
It took 7 years. It took
7 años este caso.
Are you ready for the long haul?
¿Están listos por la larga batalla?
Yeah. But and you have to keep on trusting, and you have to hold the people.
Debe seguir creyendo y mantener a la gente unida.
It's not normal lawyer work.
No es un trabajo de un abogado normal, es un trabajo normal de un abogado.
So you're a lawyer, you have to bring all these other elements into it.
Eres abogado, pero debes implementar, incrustar todos los otros elementos.
And the problem with lawyers,
Y el
the
problema
character of lawyers,
con el carácter de los abogados
is We want to implement the law, apply the law.
Nosotros queremos implementar y aplicar la ley.
We want to settle a case.
Queremos establecer un caso.
We want to win.
Queremos ganarlo.
We want to get paid.
Queremos que nos paguen.
We don't want to take risks.
No queremos tomar riesgos.
We want to be admired.
Queremos que nos admiren.
This doesn't happen in this work.
Pero en este tipo de trabajo se nos ocurre.
And you have to understand, it has to be all these other elements of the media and fundraising and so on.
Y por supuesto implementar todos los otros elementos como los medios, recolección de recursos, etc.
Where I didn't get to in my presentation this morning
Donde no llegué en mi presentación esta mañana
was that hard, secular, liberal humanism cuts Christians from the public space.
Bueno, lo que hablamos esta mañana fue de cómo esta cultura secular y progresista está atrapando a los creyentes en sus espacios y medios seculares.
But we have another rising ideology in the United Kingdom, which rivals secular liberal humanism.
Pero tenemos otra ideología que está surgiendo a pasos agigantados en el Reino Unido, que por supuesto también se para en contra de este progresismo, de este humanismo secular.
And it is Islam.
Y estamos hablando del Islam.
And it is the father of lies. Satan is the father of the lies, that is Islam and is hard secular liberal humanism.
Sabemos que Satanás es el padre de toda mentira, como la mentira del Islam y la mentira del secularismo.
So we have a rising population of Muslims in our country.
En nuestro país la población musulmana está aumentando.
Muhammad is the number one name in our country.
Mahoma o Mohamed es el nombre número uno en nuestro país.
We have many of our cities are now Muslim majority.
En muchas de nuestras ciudades ya su población mayoritaria es musulmana.
Politically, we have many mayors of cities that are Muslim.
Políticamente tenemos muchos políticos que son musulmanes.
And it's very strange because the secular lobby, the LGBT lobby, approves of Muslims, and the Muslims approve of the LGBT lobby. They like one another. They make way for one another.
Wow, es interesante cómo ambos lobbies, el lobby musulmán y el lobby LGTB, se apoyan, se gustan el uno al otro.
They hate the Christians.
Pero odian a los cristianos.
This is the Bishop of Coventry, who in April this year, the Muslims came to the Coventry Cathedral to have during Ramadan for their meal.
Aquí
The breaking
vemos
of the Ramadan.
al obispo de Coventry, que les abrió las puertas a los musulmanes, las puertas de su capilla, para que los musulmanes celebraran la cena del Ramadán allí.
This week, the Archbishop of Canterbury approved of wished Muslims happy Eid Mubarak.
Este mes el arzobispo de Canterbury les deseó una feliz festividad. ¿Cuál es el name of the festival?
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak les deseó felices fiestas, los saludó.
And we have the influence of Islam in fashion, buying our churches.
Tenemos todo esto que está sencillamente penetrando nuestras iglesias.
And mosques also operate as courts. So mosques are not like churches. They operate as education centres and as legal centres. So we have Sharia law operating in England.
Así que tenemos en Inglaterra estas leyes de las sharías musulmanas, que son como pequeños centros legales y están operando dentro de iglesias.
And we have Muslim money buying up most of the important parts of London, the Shard and Harrods and the Connaught.
Y musulmanes adinerados están comprando las partes más importantes de Londres.
We have women being groomed under Islam.
Tenemos muchas mujeres siendo abusadas o acosadas en el Islam.
We have Christian pastors being removed, and mainly in England now, chaplains in prisons are Muslim.
Tenemos muchos pastores siendo despedidos de sus trabajos y la mayoría de capellanes en escuelas y instituciones ahora son musulmanes.
I now want to play one of our cases.
Quiero mostrarles uno de nuestros
Because this
casos.
is another area that we are in as well.
Esta es otra área en la que estamos incursionando también.
So I'm going to play the case of Catherine Tash. This is a woman who's a convert from Islam.
Esta es una mujer que se convirtió del Islam al cristianismo
She does evangelism
Ella
in
va-
Speaker's Corner.
y habla en las esquinas.
Twice she has been arrested and strip searched for being present at Speaker's Corner.
Ella ha sido arrestada en varias ocasiones por predicar en las esquinas de las calles.
On Sunday at Speaker's Corner, I got attacked by an individual with knife. I arrived at Speaker's Corner like every other Sunday. I was having debate and discussion with a gentleman, more discussion because it was raining, all those things. Suddenly, I got interrupted by. It happened so quick, I don't fully remember what exactly happened. I felt uncomfortable how I was. I was just trying to move myself away. Within a second, when I turned my back round, when I turned around, I noticed people are running, chasing behind someone. I was bleeding. Within a couple of minutes, I noticed that I had a knife attack. And yeah, I am okay by God's grace. I have watched the video yesterday because it happened 2 days ago. And I watched the video, and then also I had a piece of knife left in my cloth. I think that knife is broken. I would say I'm here because it wasn't my time. So God has been gracious to me, and He wanted me to stay in this world a little longer.
We know the person that tried to kill her. The cut was here, could have got her throat.
Nosotros conocemos a la persona que intentó asesinarla, la herida fue aquí, intentó cortarle el cuello.
This happened 18 months ago.
Eso ocurrió hace 18 meses.
No, 1 year. 1 year ago. Sorry, 1 year ago.
Hace un año.
They will not apprehend that man. They will not. They keep on. No, they will.
No lo capturaron.
But they know who he is.
Y
And it's
sabían
on
que
camera.
está en cámara.
They arrested her 2 weeks ago, and they strip searched her.
Ya la habían arrestado 2 semanas atrás por haber estado en este lugar que aparentemente es un lugar donde se habla públicamente.
Because she went to Speaker's Corner with a Quran, and in the Quran she put holes because she said there were holes in the Quran.
Y ella fue a este lugar, en la esquina de los discursos, y ella llevó el Corán con varios agujeros. Y ella decía, hay agujeros en el Corán y por eso la arrestaron.
She was strip searched in the cell and held overnight, and they took her Bible and her glasses away.
Así que ella fue confinada, fue arrestada en una celda y lo único que tenía era su Biblia allí con ella.
This is Great Britain.
Esto ocurrió en Gran Bretaña.
For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it's the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes.
Sabemos lo que dice Romanos 1:16, porque no me avergüenzo del Evangelio, porque es poder de Dios para salvación a todo aquel que cree.
And just to say that in this time as well, I could show you another video, but maybe my time is up, that we have represented hundreds of street preachers.
Quiero decirles con el tiempo que me queda
Across 20 years, hundreds.
que durante estos 20 años hemos representado, hemos apoyado a cientos de predicadores en las calles, gente que es arrestada y perseguida por
We
ellos.
have 100% success rate in getting them off at trial.
Y hemos tenido un éxito del 100% en cada uno de los juicios que se les han hecho a estas personas.
I believe that because we exist,
Y yo creo que debido a que nosotros existimos,
we are free to preach the gospel on the streets of the United Kingdom.
somos libres de predicar el Evangelio en las calles del Reino Unido.
Amén.
Sometimes Christians say to me, those street preachers, I really wish they wouldn't do the gospel like that.
Muchos cristianos a veces se me acercan y me dicen, son predicadores de las calles, ojalá no estuvieran haciendo eso.
They're very embarrassing.
La verdad me avergüenzan.
I love my street preachers.
En cambio, yo amo a mis predicadores de las calles.
And let me say this, that after the street preacher comes Bernard Randall, the Church of England minister with the Church of England collar in a Church of England school, preaching a Church of England sermon who gets removed from his job.
Y de un predicador de la calle surgió la Iglesia de Inglaterra. Iglesia de Inglaterra, del cual vino este ministro de la Iglesia de Inglaterra, que por haber predicado un sermón fue despedido de su denominación.
After the street preacher comes the man in the pulpit who says you can convert, you can move away from unwanted same-sex attraction, you can move away from pornography, you can move away from lust.
Detrás de este predicador de la calle, este predicador callejero, viene aquel predicador que está en el púlpito, que puede decir, debido al Evangelio puedes ser transformado, debido al Evangelio puedes realmente empezar a sentir atracción por personas de tu sexo opuesto, por el Evangelio puedes ser liberado, detrás de ese predicador callejero.
This is why we need to stand. You don't wait for the perfect case, you contend for the truth where it presents itself.
Y es por eso que debemos seguir peleando. No esperes el caso perfecto, tómalo y pelea.
But I hope that what I've taught you is that it's faith and it's multidisciplinary. It's not just the law.
Y espero que recuerden que lo que se necesita para esto es mucha fe y un equipo multidisciplinario.
Amén.
Okay.